All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Super excited for what we have for you guys today and excited to welcome you. My name is Marissa, and this is our first virtual coffee break session. So I hope you had a chance to grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever your drink of choice is, before jumping on. While we are waiting for people to join, we'll give it about 2 or 3 minutes here. Would love for you to pop in the chat and let us know where are you from and if you prefer your coffee hot or iced, keeping on with our coffee break theme here. So for example, I'm from Texas and I prefer my coffee hot, although I will say it's been very hot here in Texas, so I'd probably be better off with iced coffee. But yeah, let us know in the chat. Would love to see where people are from. Again, we're going to give it about 2 or 3 minutes here. Love seeing these answers come in. We've got people from all over. I see Atlanta, Houston, Argentina. Nice mix of hot coffee. Any iced coffee on here? Tea preferences, totally get that. Not everyone's a coffee drinker. Awesome. Yeah. So as other people are joining on, we will be getting started in about a minute or two here. And while we are waiting for people to join on, just let us know where you're from and how you prefer your coffee, hot or iced, or your drink of choice. If you're not a coffee drinker, no worries at all. Awesome. Excited to see people joining us from all over the world. It's really great to see such a mix of people from all over here. Again, we'll be getting started in about a minute. Really excited for today's topic. I think it's going to be a fun discussion and hopefully very informative as well. And thank you everyone for your answers in the chat. All right. Okay. Well, we are right at about 3 minutes, so we'll go ahead and jump in. I'm really excited for today's topic. We're here to talk about prospecting and more specifically, how to build a lead list that converts. We're going to hear exclusive tips from a seasoned enterprise sales director and our very own vice president of sales here at Apollo. And I know many of you were excited about our coffee gift card raffle, and we will be announcing those winners selected at random at the end. So some quick housekeeping. The recording will be sent out to everyone who registered within 48 hours of the event ending. So be on the lookout for that in your email. And for questions, please make sure you put your questions, any questions that you have, in the question box, not the chat box. That'll just help me to better keep up with questions as they come in and not get mixed up in the chat. And then notifications, I highly recommend you mute your notifications. You can do that by clicking the bell icon at the top right corner of the question box window. That's just so you don't hear the notification sound going off throughout the webinar. So highly recommend hitting mute on that if you don't want to hear those sounds going off throughout the webinar. All right, so quick agenda for today. We'll be doing speaker introductions, and then I'll give a little overview of Apollo, who we are and what we provide. And then we'll get into today's topic, why you're all here today, which is the essentials of building a lead list that converts. After that, we will announce our coffee gift card raffle winners, and then we will have some time for question and answer at the end. So throughout today's session, if you have any questions on what's being discussed, again, just pop those in the chat or the question box, not the chat box, and we will get to those at the end. All right, so first, I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker, Scott Duffey, who is the Enterprise Solutions Director at Chargeback Gurus. Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company?
Yeah, thank you very much, Marissa. Hey, everybody. Very excited to be on this call with everyone. I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas and some things that I'm doing today with Apollo. My name is Scott Duffey. I'm with a company called Chargeback Gurus. I'm our enterprise solutions director at the company. And our company helps online merchants that go up against credit card disputes that their customers file against them. And we help them find the necessary evidences to provide information back to the credit card companies and fight these chargebacks and help them retain their revenue. So I'm very busy with any online company you can imagine that sells any sort of service or product. Excited to be here. Look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And also excited to introduce our VP of Sales here at Apollo, Dave Bennion. Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and why you love sales?
Okay, yeah. Well, I've got 30 minutes here, so everybody buckle up. Love sales. Just going to get really deep into this. Yeah, so Dave Bennion, I'm responsible for sales here at Apollo. Our mission is to make go-to-market simple and accessible for all. We do that by providing an all-in-one platform, right, where we give you a thorough data set, the most complete data set, a really strong way to win customers, and then also the ability to keep your data up to date and through our enrichment services. So, yeah, I've been in sales for about 10 years, and I just I accidentally got into sales. Happy to share that story anytime, but I love it. I love working with customers. I love helping people solve problems. And I really think that's what this is about. I'm excited to chat with Scott today and talk about a problem that I think all of us face, which is, so much of the job is trying to connect with customers, not just connecting with them. And so how do we do that really strategically and make our work as efficient as possible? So excited to chat with everybody and hope it's valuable for all of you.
Awesome. Thanks, David. All right. Well, you will all hear from Scott and Dave in just a minute. But before that, I'd like to quickly share a little bit about Apollo. For any of you who are new to our platform, or maybe you signed up for today and had no idea what we do, love to go through that quickly. So Apollo is an end-to-end sales solution that helps sellers like you find buyers, connect with contacts, and move deals forward. We work with companies of all sizes. You can see some of our bigger companies here on the screen, but we work with companies of all sizes and all over the world to help with streamlining the prospecting process. So first and foremost, you can use Apollo to find every prospect and uncover high-intent contacts in your target market with our vast B2B database and advanced search filters. Sellers also use Apollo to connect with every contact and create multi-step outbound sequences at scale. You can automate your emails and stay on top of the steps in your outbound prospecting process using our platform. And then last but not least, we help sellers move business forward and optimize your sales strategy by unlocking opportunities across your workflow. We've got unique insights and automation tools to help you move business forward. All right, so now I'm going to hand things over to Dave and Scott to get into today's topic, building a lead list that converts. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Marissa. Scott, super excited to chat today. This is such an important part of the sales process, right? Is the preparation, the planning, the strategy that goes into who am I going to reach out to? How am I going to reach out to them? What's the messaging that I'm going to use? But today we're really going to talk about like that, finding the right people, right? And identifying them and building those lists so that we can be as efficient as possible and really connect with the right people. So, obviously, Scott, you are super seasoned as a sales professional. You've seen, when we were chatting, you've seen it all, right? And so would love to hear a little bit about your experience kind of building lead lists, how you've done it in the past, and maybe some of the challenges that you've faced previously when building your lists.
Yeah, David, be my pleasure. So I jokingly shared with you that I actually predate LinkedIn, and that's true. This is my 19th year in sales. And I'll be honest, I've managed BDRs. I've done the grind for a very long time. And today I am truly a hunter, as probably most of you on this call are. So I live in these tools on a daily basis. I use LinkedIn every day. I use Apollo every day. And, the most important thing for me when it comes to building a list is absolutely understanding who the right buying persona is for my service. And as I mentioned to you all before, the service I sell today is to online retailers, helping them try to identify opportunities to capture revenue that's probably going to the wayside today. So a lot of where my direct buying personas are in this instance are in the finance side of things, payments arena, if you would. So VPs of finance, controllers, treasurers, these are all people that pay very close attention to revenue, whether the ebbs and flow of it. And so that is today where I've been building my lists within Apollo. But it's to say, again, Apollo's relatively new in this sales intel space. So I've come from the gamut of working with other solutions that exist out there. And part of the challenge was, especially before LinkedIn was even there, was, really being able to identify who the right people are to speak to. Like, there wasn't great lists out there to be able to ascertain. So you were literally cold calling on companies trying to ask to be directed to a controller from an operator's perspective. And surely that's not efficient. So obviously in 2005, I believe, when LinkedIn rolled out, it was excellent that there was a quicker way for us to start seeing who potential best buying personas would be. And as the evolution of sales tools became available and they started scouring these networks for the right information, it's made it extremely helpful by using these sales tools to help build these best lists. So I think that's the start of the answer to the question. But is there another proponent that you'd like to ask?
No, I mean, I think that resonates, right? I think about so much of the job is knowing who you should be reaching out to, right? And it really starts with understanding. So for example, like if I sell a sales platform, I probably am looking at VPs of sales, sales directors, CROs, right? And then the actual users of the platform, right? Our account executives, our sales development reps. And really understanding those people, understanding their pain points, understanding their challenges. And then to your point, then you've got to go find those people. And I think in the past, it's been super inefficient. I'd love to hear from you, how has it become more efficient? And maybe specifically, selfishly, how has it become more efficient since you started using Apollo?
Right. No, it's a good question. Previous sales tools didn't have the filtering functionality that I find today through Apollo. And some of them have caught on. But I remember back in the day when some of the sales tools I used, you would look up a specific company and they would have all of those people there, but you literally had to scroll for days to try to find those best buying personas. And again, filtering technology advanced, but it was still a daunting challenge to find those right people. And, as LinkedIn also helped advance, it certainly made it a bit better. But what's been really nice in the recent time that I've had the chance to work with Apollo is how adept the filtering functionality is within the service. So based on the fact that I know those direct buying personas I'm looking for, whether it's a controller, treasurer, VP of finance, in my world, customer success managers are sometimes involved, operations as well. I've been able to go into one of those boxes and input just those 4, 5, or 6 titles. And in the top right-hand corner in that blue icon box, it will populate with how many absolute people pull back in from that company that meet those strict criteria. And then you can click into that area from there, and it'll, push out to you all of these different individuals. Now, you're going to get a handful of people that are lower level. They'll be analysts or representatives, things of that nature. But it almost always captures exactly who you're looking for, that very strategic controller, treasurer, VP of finance as well. And it's those people that are the ones that you want to make sure that you save and create your list of what exactly it is that they're going to fall under, and then start to populate how you want to communicate with them. And it's been my best effort to create templates that are unique to the vertical and the service that I'm selling to, and build out sequences that allow me to have a prolonged effort to reach out to these individuals and give them the time to get back to me, when they get a chance to respond to the email. So that's what's worked for me.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's just getting more and more granular, right? And I think that's one of the things I love when I'm talking with customers and they're talking about, their ICP, ideal customer profile, the people that they want to reach out to, their personas. We're talking about titles, we're talking about functions, but what's amazing is I was on a phone call with a customer the other day, and they were talking about specific tools that they're using, right? So what is the tech stack that they have, or what is the geography that they're in, or how much revenue do they have as a business, right? We're really, the granularity that we can get to with a platform like Apollo is really incredible, right? And the messaging can get that much more, now that we've built the list, now the messaging can get even tighter. The value proposition can get even tighter. and resonate even more with the customer, right? Really increasing your chances of not only connecting with the right person, but connecting them with, with them at a time where they're thinking about this topic, right? Where it's right in front of them. So
Sure.
yeah, that resonates. When you think about your lead list, right? And so now you've built it, you've found the right people. How have you been able to be more strategic with it, right? So we've talked about the build, but now what? Now have you been more strategic now that you've built the list?
Yeah, it goes on to utilizing the functionality of sequencing via strong templates. So again, I work with my marketing team to help build out good messaging that will make the most sense. I almost always start with, I don't know how you really get around not having that first message be a little bit lengthy, because hopefully you're acknowledging in that opening sentence, hey, I understand that you likely have this problem. B, we solve this problem with this. C, would it make sense to have a conversation? But it's those future follow-ups where at least you can tighten up and be a bit more pithy with the messaging, because I think most people understand that first message that goes out probably isn't going to be the one responded to. There's probably a stat out there that talks about how many actual efforts it takes to get somebody to truly respond. And then when you multiply that across all the different personas that you're potentially trying to reach out to, you literally could probably put in 50, 60 efforts before you even hear anything back. So again, that getting more strategic with that list for me is having the right messaging, being able to be sent out through good sequencing, and then sprinkle in your LinkedIn messaging, sprinkle in a call here and there, and stretch those sequences out so that over a 2 or 3 month period, you've got a nice smattering of efforts trying to reach into those contacts. So that's what I've done to be strategic.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how, to your point, right, you find that right person. That first email is probably addressing some concerns that you've heard from, titles like theirs or functions like theirs or their geography, whatever business is like theirs. But it really is like, how do you build a sequence and messaging that will resonate with that person over time, not necessarily on that first one? I mean, I don't remember if I was an SDR or an AE. It's getting older. But I do remember I had the perfect email. I was reaching out to I was at Dropbox. We were selling primarily to IT. I was reaching out to a CISO at a hotel chain where they were using Dropbox like crazy, but didn't really have a centralized kind of usage across the team. I crafted the most beautiful email, and boom, out of office response like 2 minutes later. Like, it took me forever. But as time went by, eventually I did connect with that team, right? It wasn't that first email. So yeah, I could get really strategic, but it's about the longer term strategy, the longer term messaging that follows this list, right? And being really dialed in on who you're reaching out to and how I'm going to resonate with this person, to the point where they kind of are going to want to get back to me because of the value I'm sharing with them, and how they're going to feel understood even before we talk. So, I got vulnerable with you there for a minute, Scott. I've sent some great emails that have not gotten responses. But I'd love to, you talked about getting more strategic with your list. Do you mind kind of going through a success story where, you've connected with the exact decision maker, or how your lead lists have really helped you connect with the right people?
Yeah, no, I have a cool success story. Today, our company, Chargeback Gurus, we are the first fintech company to be partnered with a large organization called the Footwear Distribution and Retail Association, FDRA for short. And the membership consists of 258 members and partners, both, that covers literally the entire gamut of any kind of footwear shoe that you've ever seen before, including companies like StockX, who just distribute shoes, things of that nature. So it's an amazing network to belong to. Again, no other fintech company is there yet. So we're a fraud provider on top of it. So it's been an amazing opportunity to go out and get in front of those individuals as quickly as possible. With that being said, what I was able to do is, from those 258 members, I was able to filter directly to the strategic shoe-wear companies, and create a CSV file that I uploaded into Apollo. And once I had that list created, from there I could start doing that extensive filtering that we've talked through, and look for those controllers, treasuries, finance individuals, and then I drafted a message that, is unique to just that FDRA organization, where I'm able to drop the title of their group and what we do for their group, and I've started dozens of sequences with these right buying personas. From that, I've received back significant responses of excitement that these companies didn't know that they had a partner within the network that actually helped with that service, and so it's opened up great discovery calls, and literally clients coming right at me like, I need to see this platform. So demo opportunities as well. And so my pipeline overnight, once I was able to launch those sequences, has started to grow expeditiously, which has been fantastic. Obviously, every one of us on this call wants a nice fat pipeline. So this was just one great initiative that worked out phenomenal for me. So very excited to have Apollo on board to help me, make that a success.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I had like a massive pipeline, right? Like, I think to your point, like, we're all in that. High five for that. But I think, yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know, it kind of comes back to like finding that right person, being super dialed into them. With your product in particular, you mentioned people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we had a partner for this. Right. And how much, if you had been kind of building a list one by one, yeah, maybe you would have found these people at some point, but the ability to do that at scale across a ton of different businesses, sending messaging that resonates kind of, and it feels very personalized, and it is, because you've really identified them as the right person. And then we have tools to engage and work with those customers in a way that is personalized and feels personalized at scale. So, so that's awesome. I'm glad that, that's what I love to hear, right? Is that the tool that we're giving people is driving tremendous value. It's making life easier. It's making them more efficient. And I realize that has huge benefits in building pipeline at work, but it also just gives you time to do the things that you love to do, right? And gives you your time back, makes you as efficient as possible. So awesome to hear. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciated just diving into this with you today. I think everybody on the call, this is something that resonates, right? We have to build these lists. Like, this is kind of the dirty work in some ways, the planning, the preparation, but it's really where you win is in the preparation, in the planning, setting yourself up for success. So appreciate you sharing your strategies and secrets. I still think you're going to come out ahead of everybody, but I think everybody's going to be lifted by this one. So thanks for doing that, Scott. It's been awesome chatting.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. I'll pass it back over to Marissa, and we'll dive into some Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott and Dave, for that great discussion. So before we get into question and answer, I am going to announce our raffle winners. Again, if you have not already put your questions into the question box, now is your time to get those in, and we will go through those questions shortly. Try to keep your questions on topic with what we've talked about today. If you have any questions on building lead lists or things that Scott and Dave had mentioned today, now is your time to get those answers. So first, let's see who has won our 3 coffee gift cards. So these 3 winners were selected at random from our list of registrants. All right. So for winner number 1, we have Ed Dillon. Ed Dillon, congrats on winning a coffee gift card. Winner number 2 is Rizwan Khan. Congrats to Rizwan on your winning. And then winner number 3, we have Darren Morlando. Congrats, Darren. Congrats, all 3 of you, for winning your coffee gift card. Be on the lookout for your gift card in your email in the next 30 minutes or so. And congrats again. So now let's get into questions. I've seen some great questions coming into our question box here. All right, let's see. A question from Hannah Lloyd. How do you identify the roles who you want to reach? I assume both Scott or David can answer that question.
Yeah, I'll take it first. From a roles perspective, buying personas, I'm assuming, is what is being asked there. I mean, you kind of just got to circle back to, your leadership team and or your marketing group and identify, who's best going to be able to utilize the product or service that I'm selling. Again, it's the moreover, the question is like, who is going to benefit from your product or your service? So in my case, anybody that pays attention to revenue. So one other role I forgot to mention that utilizes my tool is revenue accounting. There's literally a role like that in bigger companies, and we're definitely more of an enterprise player today. But again, treasurers and controllers, the functions that those titles serve vary with different companies. And so it's anybody that pays attention to revenue for me is the right person. That's why I mentioned sometimes it's from an operational customer success manager. So that's what I did. I worked with our leadership team and marketing to understand who the best people to seek out, and I built my list from there. I'll pass it over to you, Dave, for more insight.
Yeah, I think I agree with, like, from a first principles perspective with exactly what you said, Scott. Like, who's this going to benefit? Who's going to find value in my solution? That's your persona. I think it's really important to think, like, who's also going to buy my solution, right? So I think there are people who are going to use it and there's people who are going to buy it. And you want to be able to resonate with both of those folks. Like, part of like a bottoms up sales process is kind of getting groundswell and excitement from a group of users, but then also knowing how to communicate with the person at the end of the day who will make that decision on whether or not to purchase the solution. So what's the value that they're going to see? What are the benefits from a revenue or a cost perspective or a risk perspective? And to your point, Scott, I think, obviously depending on the size of your business, depending on like the maturity of your business, if you have a product marketing org, like I do with Marissa and Ara and our team here, like you have people that you can go talk to and collaborate on what's the messaging that's going to resonate. How do we connect with these people? What do they care about? If you don't have that, it could even, if you're a smaller business, it could be your CEO. Like, when we started this, who are we trying to solve problems for? What are the jobs that they're trying to do? And how are we going to be helping them? And that can be a great resource for you as you're building out messaging that will resonate and really benefit your customers.
Agreed.
Awesome. All right. So another question here that has a lot of upvotes. How long do you guys think a sequence of emails should be? Whether that's you've got a best practice answer or what you've seen success with in terms of how many emails should go in a sequence.
I don't mind starting with this again. Boy, I'll tell you that there's a variety of different answers for this. There are companies out there that will tell you it takes up to 13 to 17 outreaches to get that response for them to tell you to go fly a kite, or yes, I'm absolutely interested in your service or solution. Let's chat. I'm a bit more precise, and this is why I go after more than one buying persona. I keep my messaging pretty tight. I go for 3. I go for an initial one a week later. That's a lot smaller than that first one. And then a couple of weeks later, I do always pepper in a LinkedIn connection request. So I know I saw somebody message that LinkedIn has tightened up their rules about doing that, and they very much so have, so be careful. But, I'll make sure that I've messaged them first to make sure that my name will resonate when they see my LinkedIn connection request. And then make sure you're using good messaging with your LinkedIn connection request. Do not just hit them with a let's connect. I've got a message that's worked gloriously that I'm happy to share with anybody, and you can tweak it to your liking. But, and from that, that's one of my outreaches. I do always try to sprinkle in a call in the middle and at the end. So there I'm up to like 6 efforts, but there was only 3 emails in there. But I do absolutely stretch it to more than just one person at a company. So, to me, that's me reaching out multitudes of times because I just don't know who's absolutely going to get back to me most promptly. So, that's an idea. So I'll share that message right now. I'll pass over to you, Dave. Yeah,
I think I'm probably more on the industry best practice side, right? Of like 15 to 20 touches, but I think that's a mixture of calls, emails, social, including LinkedIn. And I think it's important to look at your sequence as something that really builds on itself. Scott talked about this a little bit earlier today, but that first email is like I've sometimes used the analogy of like we're digging a well, and we're not going to hit water right away. right? So we're just hitting the ground the first time with that first email, but we're going to start getting deeper and deeper and deeper as we continue to send emails, as we continue to make calls and leave voicemails, do LinkedIn touches, in ways, to Scott's point, that are personalized, that resonate, which will likely lead to shorter sequences over time, right? Or for the people who respond, right? And then, you'll also get that person who reaches out on like the breakup email and is like, okay, you got me. Let's have a conversation. So I do think it's valuable to have a lot, but also to make them as personalized and as meaningful as possible related to the list that you've built, and make sure that messaging resonates throughout the sequence.
Awesome. All right. We've got a great question here from Tony. Tony says that he's been testing out multiple tools and he wants to know what makes Apollo better or different. Dave, you might like to answer this one. He's seen the search filter and intent data are similar among some tools and pricing is the same. He's looking at enterprise, but what makes Apollo better than some of the other tools out there on the market?
Yeah.
Go ahead, David. You take the start.
Yeah, I'm super biased. My paycheck has Apollo on it, so I will just caveat with that. But I can give, maybe it's a little bit why I joined, and when I think what makes us unique is our data set. It's the biggest, it's the most complete, it's the most up to date, which makes it the most accurate, right? And I think if you're trying to get sales intelligence, right, which is kind of our category, the data is so fundamental to the work that you do. And when Scott and I were connecting earlier today, before this conversation, turns out we did practice just a little bit. One of the things we talked about was just our ability to stay super up to date with our data, right? And people changing. An example of that is the way that we share how people change jobs, right? And I think it's a feature, but it really is a feature of a bigger solution, which is the most up-to-date, the most complete data set to make you as efficient as possible. And then, I think our ease of use and not every platform is like ours, where you start with a freemium model where people can sign up and just get started right away, where it's relatively turnkey. Some of the solutions that you see in the market today are pretty heavy to set up, pretty heavy to get started. And I think we try to make it as accessible. I talked about our mission of making go-to-market simple and accessible for all. I think that simplicity and accessibility is also pretty unique to us, especially when you pair that with the amount of data and the amount of filters and features and functions that we give you. I think that's pretty unique.
Great.
I would second that. I mean, first of all of your sales managers would appreciate something here. Affordability for a great solution. So I'm not saying that it's inexpensive, because I don't know what we actually paid for it, but I know that our leadership is enamored with the service that we get from it, and we have no intention of leaving anytime soon. So we've looked at some other services to see if we were missing anything, and honestly, we felt like the value that we get from the cost point, as well as the serviceability, it far outweighed even looking at moving over to somebody else that said, we've got this other bell and whistle that they don't have. So to me, that was a big value point. The other thing I found super valuable about Apollo is how much functionality that they have built in, and they're constantly rolling out new things. Like, again, I've used all of the other services. I shared with them what I've used, everything you guys have used. And they just don't, in my opinion, have the functionality that's readily available at your fingertips to be able to use. Again, when you look up a buying persona right out of the gate, you'll see that you have access to their LinkedIn profile. I know that others offer that same exact service, but again, the ability to have it integrated and moved right directly into your CRM system. Do you want to email them or sequence them right there on the spot? I haven't used other services in a bit, but I've just loved how simple it's been using Apollo for me, and to do my job. And I work with between 500 to 1,000 companies a year, so I need speed and accurate data. I've found that all with Apollo.
Awesome. Okay, so a few other questions. Let's see. Juan asks if if the industry he's reaching out to doesn't use LinkedIn very much, would Apollo still help with finding the right leads? So how else can he take advantage of Apollo, even in an industry that maybe isn't as active on LinkedIn?
I would imagine it would. Yeah, I think that you guys have done an exceptional job at finding. I'm amazed how oftentimes I find small companies that, even though there's not a lot of personas there, you have them in your system. So that's always been interesting to me. And yeah, I mean, if you can find anybody at that company, you'll want to take advantage of it if they have the information there. So yeah, start a sequence with that group. I'll share with everybody. I'm going to a ticketing conference today, right after I get off of this call out here in Las Vegas, and they're set up like what was just called out. Not a lot of them are on LinkedIn because they're small mom and pop shops that all they're doing is reselling tickets in highly populated areas. So they don't really need to have a LinkedIn profile. But I expect that I'm going to find a lot of their information in Apollo after I get done with the show, and I'll be able to follow up with them and put them into nice sequences to just remind them, hey, we were at the show, et cetera, et cetera. Would it make sense to have a conversation? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have an anecdote, right? I was talking to somebody the other day that's trying to sell into the sheet metal industry, right? And Apollo is just a phenomenal tool for that. I don't think of the sheet metal industry as like the biggest LinkedIn hitter. It's you know, if I was to look at LinkedIn, I'd probably say tech, software, internet is probably the biggest player there. And I look at people are utilizing our tool to sell to the most remote niche industries out there, right? And finding contacts across the globe within those industries. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be a huge limiter in this case.
Awesome. We'll do one last question here, which I think is a good summary question. Jasmine asked if you could, so we talked about a lot of different things in relation to the topic today, but if you could just summarize in one sentence how to create a lead list that converts. So from everything we talked about, what's the 1-2 sentence answer you would give to effectively build a lead list that converts?
For me, knowing who your buying personas are and filtering well within the solution, and have good sequencing messaging for the strategic buying role or vertical that you're selling into. That would be my success plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Scott and I are like of one mind here. It's know your industry, the accounts, and the personas that you want to reach out to, and build your list based off of those filters. And if you can get more granular from there, you'll do even better. Awesome.
Thanks, guys. And thanks, everyone, for participating and sending in those great questions. It's really great, informative session here today. To wrap things up, just want to say, if you have not already tried out Apollo, definitely try it out. You can start a free trial and take Apollo on a test drive by visiting our website, apollo.io/sign-up. Or if you are currently already using Apollo and want to check out some of our other plans, you can do so also on our website at apollo.io/pricing and see some of the additional product features we have available on our different plans. So thank you again, everyone, for attending today. Really appreciate the engagement and involvement. We'd love to get your feedback on this session and know what you thought, know what was helpful, what wasn't. So be on the lookout for a survey along with the recording in your email. Again, you should receive that tomorrow or Friday. Also want to say that you can follow us on social media to learn about other virtual events we'll have coming up this year, see selling tips and other Apollo product news. So thank you again for attending, and we hope to see you all at our next session. And thank you, Scott and David.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.